I'm Kris Oldland. I'm the editor-in-chief of Field Service News, for those of you that don't know me. And across the last couple of months, I've been very, very fortunate to work with the fantastic team at FieldAware on probably the most important field service news research project we've ever undertaken. 2020 has been an incredible year, let's put it that way. We've seen some of the most testing of times. We've seen incredible innovation. I personally have felt privileged to be surrounded by organizations where we've seen companies coming together, like we saw with Dyson and JCB, for example, to reinvent what they were doing, to come together to keep people in work, but also to solve problems. I've seen that with organizations across the world in various reporting that I have done. And I felt it was vital that we start benchmarking what this new normal that we're all talking about looks like. And so that's exactly what the recent research report we've just published is all about, benchmarking the new normal from year zero. The findings have been, some have been what we would expect, others really something of a surprise. Across the next hour or so, we're going to be dissecting what those findings mean. And I've turned to two people that I really hugely value their insights. Steve Mason and Marc Tatarsky, both with FieldAware, our core partner on this research. We're like I said in the kickoff, we're doing a bit of a deep dive and a bit of a debrief today on some of this research, and I really wanted the two of you to join me on this session because I felt that you both have different aspects of knowledge to bring to the table across your own careers. As I said, my opening gambit was these are unprecedented times and untold innovation. I'm just curious to kind of just gauge a bit of opinion before we kind of dive into what the actual findings were. What would have been the key things that you would have expected to see come out of this? And in terms of the conversations that you're having, because obviously there's so many touch points that you guys have at FieldAware with different customers, from different industries, customers from different size businesses, and there's an awful lot of challenges we've all faced. So just before we kind of dig into the actual data, it'd be good to kind of get your perceptions of where this was going to go beforehand. Steve, maybe I can just kind of get you to kind of give me some ideas there as well, just on what you would have expected to see.
Certainly. So we'd expected to have seen customers hankering down, so planning, quite radically changing their service delivery to respond to the unprecedented environment that was happening, that people were operating in, restrictions on going to site, whole states and cities in lockdown. So that we would have expected to see more of that, and then and how those lessons learnt and the changes of the service delivery models, how those could be extended out into the future. We questioned whether people would have accelerated or radically changed their infrastructure in what was a financial challenging situation. So that was sort of our assumptions going in, was that people had hankered down, addressed and focused their services to meet the customers' biosecurity needs, all the restrictions, and looking to maximize the services they could and cut back everything they couldn't do.
We saw that kind of merge across a lot of the live streams that we did here at Field Service News, those kind of conversations as well. Marc, a very keen technologist yourself, finger on the pulse in terms of where digital transformation is heading, and that's something we'll touch on as we go through the report. But was there anything else that you the trends that you anticipated seeing emerge?
Yeah, it's always a little bit easier to take a look at this now that we're 6-7 months after the initial crisis started. And so I think one of the things when we first started this report and this research with you, Kris, was we didn't really know how serious and how long lasting the pandemic was going to be, and whether or not it was going to be more of a short impact and something that companies, as Steve pointed out, could just hunker down and kind of wade through, or whether or not there were going to be more systemic changes that needed to take place. And so I think one of the things that we really wanted to uncover was what was the broader impact to strategy and to technology adoption, and is there a significant change in the priorities that organizations have now that they, have settled into the reality of the pandemic, but also know that this is, most likely not just a one-time event. This is going to be something that organizations need to be able to be prepared for, not only now, but in the future. And so we certainly wanted to take a look at that. Some of the obvious from a technology standpoint that I think we initially thought and continue to think will have an impact is the elements of remote monitoring and remote assist and just ways of improving the interactions that the service techs have, either reducing the number of site visits or just transforming the way that the site visits happen. And so, certainly looking at some of those elements was critical to what we were looking for and looking at as well.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting as we start to see some of these things emerge for the next hour or so as we kind of go through these. Because like we said, there were some things that I think we could all expect, in terms of the technology, in terms of the way companies reacted. And there were things that surprised us to a degree. Perhaps one thing that won't surprise anyone was of course the huge financial impact of the initial lockdowns and the crisis. As we see on the graphic on the screen now, we asked the respondents, have you had an issue with customers being able to pay for your services because of restricted cash flows? Well over half, 57% of companies indicated that they had. It was a straight yes/no split, so obviously 43% saying they hadn't. I think we could probably all anticipate that. We all knew that there was going to be a financial impact, and it would probably be in services. It would be a trickle-down effect because, as businesses started to grind to a halt where they were unable to do their business, their day-to-day operations, the need for service maintenance work would be shut down. Obviously, the biosecurity challenges, we've seen a huge move towards remote service delivery, which we're going to look at a little bit later. But that's a massive impact. Marc, what's your thoughts there? I mean, that's something that in the short term we have to be cognizant about, and I think we have to have a lot of honest conversations with our supply chain and our customers as well, to understand that there is less cash in the market. What's your advice for service organizations that are kind of facing that kind of issue at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no doubt that the financial impact of this, both short term and long term, I think are one of the biggest ramifications, kind of rolling ramifications that the pandemic has had. And it's one that I think we're still, kind of sorting through. I don't know that we fully understand what the long-term effect of this is. But certainly, I think one of the important things for any organization to do is to obviously get control of their financial situation, right? In the best ways that they can, both from a process and policy standpoint. But look for ways to continue to provide the service that their clients are expecting. I think, at the end of the day, providing the value and the services is a critical element. While we're not first responders in this industry, we're essential workers for keeping the entire infrastructure of the world going, right? And so we have a very critical element to play in the broader global economy. And so every organization needs to be able to weather the storm and then look for ways to improve our ability to deliver the services that are essential for keeping the infrastructure going. And so certainly, taking some immediate measures, which I think most of the organizations have done, to ensure that they're able to keep the staff and the services going, but then look for ways to adapt to the changing realities of the world, and then deliver the services that we're expected to deliver, right? And adapt to the new process that's out there.